Hey guys, this is Chesney Hawks here. You are watching My Hammers 11 with the one and only Russ.
Hi everybody, Russ and My Hammers 11. Hope you're safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the bell icon so you made any time we put new content on. As always, I'd like to thank our lovely channel sponsors on Tuckit. Check them out in the description below. I'm back in the garage. Tom, basically, I was kicked out. I wasn't kicked out of the garage, but like the whole day today, I've been inside because we've got builders, and I just felt wrong. But I'm back in home ground now, so it's all good. Today, yes, exactly. Just for you, Tom. Just for you, man. We've got Tom Burford. How are you doing, my man? How's things with you, buddy?
Good. I'm good. I was very fragile this morning after the England game.
Yeah.
It felt, just for a second, it felt like life back to normal when we were celebrating Raheem Sterling put us 1-0 up.
And then
great moment.
It was brilliant. I mean, it was great. It's all right, and also it's like that's the first time we've won our opening European Cup game ever, isn't it? So
yeah,
look, it's I know what you mean. It was like I felt really like yesterday. I woke up with like a real extra bounce in my step, and it was just weird because it's like I'm not, as I said, I've said before, I'm not a massive like England fan, but when it comes to tournaments, I'm such a turncoat and I'm all in. And I was like, I was listening to the radio and listening to all the previews and getting really into it. And now roll on Scotland Friday night. Woof.
Well, I don't know how they lost today. Kafau had a brilliant game, and
he did.
You must have seen the second goal.
Yeah.
And my word!
Suchek, of course. He had the assist in that.
They've not given me the assist points on fantasy. I'm going to write to UEFA.
Have a word. Poor old Sweaties, though. Hell of a goal. Yeah, and it's set up quite nicely for Friday because I mean they've got to come out and play to get some points. Otherwise,
that's exactly what we were saying at work. We booked ourselves a meeting at 2:00 today to watch that, and that's exactly what we said. If they'd have won today, they could well afford to just sit back and frustrate us. But with Croatia coming in the third game, they're going to have to come out and try and get something now.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's going to play into our hands because it'll open up a bit, and I'll be interested to see. I was thinking I really don't want him to play two defensive midfielders, but I thought Rice and Phillips were excellent together.
They played really well together, didn't they?
I would quite like that to stick now. Yeah,
do you think,
we'll see.
Do you think Calvin's place is sort of he's like the stand-in for when Henderson comes back in, and he would replace him?
Not for me. Henderson, no. Phillips is way better. Way better than Henderson, I'm afraid.
No, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. I just think, like he has his favourites, like Raheem was a bit of a, and clearly Jordan's one of his favourites because, he did say he's not going to pick anyone who's injured. Hello?
Yeah, well.
And Harry.
That's right.
Maguire. But anyway. But as long as, as I said, with the West Ham boys have done all right so far. Obviously, Yarmolenko scoring and of course he'll score because you put him on the left foot, he'll always score. And obviously Sufal getting a good assist today and Dek playing well and Fabianski wasn't in goal, so for Poland, that's good. So, he would have saved a couple of those shots, definitely. So it's going all right. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm proper into it now. I wasn't into it, but now I've got a sticker book and and I think Flo was like interested for about 5 minutes opening stickers until she realised she didn't know any of them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not quite got the magic. It's not got the magic of the France '98 album, I've got to say, because I felt like I knew everybody.
Yeah.
In the France '98 album, but when you're unwrapping a North Macedonian left back you've never heard of, it's not quite as exciting.
No. Doesn't quite fill you with excitement than getting a Didier Deschamps or someone like that. I know exactly what you mean. But it's I just find it strange. I just find it how they can fill up, because I haven't properly looked at all the the stickers and check they're actually in the squad, because obviously they would have printed this a while ago. These things, it's all bloody 2020. So I reckon there'll be some right weirdo things turn up, particularly the England squad. Be like, oh, Jesse Lingard, yeah, whatever. Bloody
Declan Rice was still playing for Ireland when they made it.
yeah, he's not even in the team. Oh, bless him. So obviously, we've spoken about it enough, but we've done all right this season. Looking forward to next season now, Tom. Now we've got Moyes. Now Moyes is signed.
Yeah, I was never worried about that.
No, me neither.
I've got a good friend of mine who's an Everton fan who said, look, obviously I'd love him back, but he'd be an absolute muppet to do that. And I don't think he's a muppet. So I was, pleased, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. No. I think he'd be stupid to, when he's got a good thing going after whether it's completely his fault or not. He's had a couple of failures at Sunderland and Sociedad, and I do think that was the worst time to take over at United.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it does make me wonder if Ferguson maybe had an inkling that he couldn't take that team any further.
I think so. I think so. Without major investment, he wasn't going to get the investment. It was an aging squad, and he knew when to. Very similar to Mr. Wenger, I think.
Yeah,
same thing. Jump ship when it was all looking a bit crap, and I think people forget. He was what a great job he did at Everton and at Preston as well. And something about him, man. There's something about him. I just think it's his work ethic. I just think it's his the way he gets a team. He galvanizes a team together, and I know, Declan probably being out probably cost us Champions League, but still, how many injuries we had all season? We never really had a fully fit squad all season, to be fair. And we still managed to finish, record points tally, record wins tally.
That's what cost us. Just not having the strength and depth to rotate. The closer it got to the end of the season, that's what's cost us in the end. I mean, because I'm not comparing this to a City or a United or a Chelsea or whatever, but they can spend 20 or 30 million on someone they know is just going to be a squad player, and they can just rotate. But we don't have that luxury, which is what made it such a good season. It's so, I know we finished fifth in 98-99, but I think it was a more level playing field then.
Yes. Yeah.
There wasn't the foreign investment then, the big foreign investment.
No, you're right. You're right. It was with that time. It was a relatively level playing field. There wasn't a massive influx really of foreign-based players either. Really, to be fair, it sort of started towards the end of the Redknapp era. I think sort of just before 95, 96, there was a few in. We had Darney and Boogers, but it was like you're right. There wasn't. I mean, Abramovich wasn't in. You didn't have the sheikhs of Man City. You didn't. So it wasn't necessarily all about. He still had the class of '92 still knocking about, and Man United, and Arsenal had the invincible seasons and stuff like that. So yeah, you're totally right. It was a slightly more level playing field, monetary speaking.
Yeah.
I just think it's remarkable when it's just a turnaround. It's like, finished last year, we finished 14th or 15th, I can't remember last year, season for last. This year we've been fifth, finished sixth, and we haven't really had to think about relegation after about game week 3. The first 2 weeks were pretty shocking, and then from then on it was like, do you know what? We're going to be all right, I think. We're going to be all right this year.
To be fair, even that Arsenal game, we were very unlucky to not get at least a point out of that.
Yeah.
They basically stuck their 2 chances away, and we were more than a match for them on the day.
Yeah,
and not so much to say that the Wolves result was coming, but I think then when you go and then win the game at Leicester as well, you start to think, well, could we do something this season?
I think,
and we did.
And I think it's just like everything just like, and what's frustrating to me is that it feels like we due another one of them games, towards the end of the season. It was like, a real sort of, I always said it a lot of the shows. We were due a dicking. We were due to really turn someone over again, and we didn't really after those after Wolves and Leicester. good games, but obviously then we concede quite often. So like we'd win, we'd go 3 up, and then we'd draw 3-3 or 3-2 or things like that. And I would like to just do a couple more of those games where we just turn people over properly. But look, we're splitting hairs. We're in Europa. We're going to have at least 3 away days. Hopefully, Boris will let us out by then. Should do by sort of September, October, I hope. And yeah, it'd be great. European days back at West Ham, back at London Stadium. Hopefully, full capacity by August.
I can't wait for St Johnstone away. I'm really looking forward to that.
We're going to get him. We know we're going to get him. But it's like whether I want to go, whether I want the Payet derby, or whether I want the Real Betis derby, or the Pellegrini derby. I don't know which one I want. But Pellegrini might be the Everton manager by then. Who knows?
No, I don't. I can't see it. They'd be better off getting Deitch, I think. That's
why I'm surprised that no one's really we've the Palace job's been up or anything like that. Deitch is like one man who you should get in. But if you someone like Palace, he'd be brilliant at Palace. He hasn't got a lot of money to spend. He's got and I know all about Palace now because I've watched Where Eagles Dare on Amazon Prime, which is a great series. You have to see it. It's brilliant.
Ah, yeah. Now I love things like this, and somebody told me about this on Saturday.
Yes.
How is there a lot of failure in it?
I know what you mean. I don't like the game. That's why I like the Sunderland ones.
Yeah.
There is relative failure. Well, I suppose it's failure in the respect of, because they think that they're going to win the title and they end up not winning the title, and there's a period, and then Bolton to come in for Dougie Freeman, and then Ian Holloway comes in. So there is a relative. It's not all plain sailing.
This is peak. This is peak 90s then as well. So it's got all of the active.
Yes, no, it's not. It's 2012.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, Dougie Freedman as manager.
As manager,
Sorry,
manager.
I thought you meant as a player. Sorry.
No, as a manager. So it's really, and so it starts off with George Burley, obviously, and he was a complete failure. And then Dougie took over as full-time coach, and then Bolton pinch him. And do you know what? I don't like Palace, but I quite like Steve Parish. He comes across really nice, isn't it? Really well. And it's a bit like, aren't we all great? We're like a fan club, but it's a really well shot one. Sometimes I find I like the all or nothing ones. Didn't like the Man United, the Man City one was pretty rubbish. Because
Tottenham was reasonably enjoyable.
Yeah.
When they knew they weren't going to get in the Champions League, that was enjoyable. The Sunderland one it's like The Office. It's like a mockumentary.
The second series, particularly, definitely.
I would be so embarrassed of that, but it is compelling television because it's just absolute nonsense behind the scenes. What's that guy's name? Is it someone? Who's the Scottish guy?
The Scottish guy
in the first series, but then Charlie somebody in the
Charlie. What's
series.
name is the head. Do you know what? It's like, I think if you could write a football sitcom about football club, that's basically what it'll be. You've got the crazy, the blue sky thinking, marketing manager. Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to encourage that. Like when they were doing the bit where he was listening to the tracks.
Oh no.
But the thing is that's happened to me though, but with Alan Pardew.
With Pards, you've said,
So I know it happens, but it's funny. It's just funny seeing it, and it's funny because we're sort of messaging ourselves, like me and the team I do at West Ham. They're like, "Oh my god, this is like not under the current law. This is like 10 years ago. I remember this. It's just like I was like, yeah, it is. It's really similar. But I love them. I like the American ones as well because the American ones is always like they always pick a really good. I think what they do is someone told me they actually follow 3 or 4 teams, NFL teams, and then they do the whole documentary almost, and then whoever has the shittest season or the best season, they'll pick, and it's usually the shittest season. No, brilliant. And particularly, I think it was the LA Rams. The LA Rams one was the brilliant one, where literally the opening scene was the coach saying he was leaving, and then the credits come up. Brilliant. Well, you know exactly. You got me hooked. Is it bad performance? Has he got done in a scandal? But anyway, it's very, very
There's
good.
some. I mean, the one that I'd always recommend to people is, and it's horrible for fans of Chester City, but there's one on Chester City that was made in the either late 90s or early 2000s, and it's about an American guy, and I can't remember his name now, but he took over Chester City as chairman, and he was an American football coach, and then installed himself as manager, with just a background in American football and just some of the Americanisms, and it's just literally cannot believe what you're watching. It is absolutely incredible.
And it's in 4:3 as well, even better.
Yeah.
My! It's called an American Dream documentary.
Yeah.
So there we go. On very good. And that is just like, have you seen Ted Lasso? Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It's about an American.
Someone said about that.
Yeah, it's like a Premier League club, and they bring over an American coach, like American football coach, to she's deliberately trying to ruin the club, and he becomes it's really, really good. It's really funny.
Well, that documentary is like that, but it actually happened.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm gonna have to watch that. I love it, but I love those guys. And it's those hidden gems you find now. You've got time, haven't you? You've got time to find those hidden gems. And Christ, Joe's watching bloody Friends from episode 1. You know what I mean? It's like, Christ, it's not that bad. But I've already done The Office twice, so I thought, oh yeah, I suppose. But yeah, now I'm going to watch that. That's
a goodie. That's a good one.
But there's not obviously football, because there's so much bloody football. So it's like, they'll have an off day soon, won't there? Be a time where there's one of those days where you have all the 3 games, don't you? Have 3 games every day, and there's like a day which is like a rest day, and no one knows what to do with themselves.
Well, yeah, I can only imagine it's when someone who's trying to clear themselves of addiction, like the first day of it or something. That's what I can imagine what it's like.
Yeah. Oh my God! Or you deliberately flick on at 2:00 and there's no game.
Yeah.
What's going on? Or like the
Homes under the hammer.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, unfortunately, the Ericsson thing, wasn't it? And then they had like, I don't know, Garden Force turns up or whatever, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
surely it's something better we can put on than this. But anyway, we digress as we always do. Why West Ham, Tom? Why West Ham?
Because
that was a hell of a segue. Isn't that?
That's a great. Yeah, I do love segues and 90s football failure documentaries are my 2 favourite things, so that's great. Basically, my dad's a dirty glory hunter, really, Russ, which sounds ridiculous for West Ham United, but I'm Winchester, Hampshire, born and bred. I live in Swindon now, but my dad, the first game of football he ever watched on telly in black and white at my granddad's house in a little village called Swanmore, just outside Winchester, was the '64 Cup final against Preston. And he remembers wanting West Ham to win because, we had Moore and Hurst and Peters and all these exciting players, but we were underdogs on the day. I think at the time in that game, I'm sure this is right, Howard Kendall set the record, which stood for a long, long time for the youngest player to start a cup final, I think.
Wow.
But West Ham were massive underdogs on that day. Yeah. And then basically we went on a cup winning spree, which lasted another 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So the Cup Winners' Cup in '65 obviously compounded it, and then everybody hates us saying it, but then the World Cup in '66.
Yeah.
And that basically, he was a West Ham fan after that. Used to watch them. He used to have friends. He used to go down the Dell. Used to go and see Southampton whenever West Ham played down there. He had a friend, Jacko, who's a Leicester fan, went up to Filbert Street with him, went down to Portsmouth a couple of times. But I believe this is right. He went to the 75 Cup final, he went to the 1980 Cup final, because in those days they used to give local football referees tickets. You get 2 tickets. And the ref, so we were the only West Ham fan I know around here, so you can go. So we took his tickets with him. But I'm sure this is right. His first game at Upton Park was my first game, which was 1997. We beat Sheffield Wednesday 5-1. And this shirt actually was the shirt my dad wore that day. Actually, there was a ceremonial handing over of the shirt ahead of the last game at Upton Park. So I wore this on the last game at Upton Park and just didn't give it back. I've just kept it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, what a great story. It's funny. It's funny how
you just get bitten.
You do, and it's funny how many people we've spoken to, and even if it's like not them but their dad or whatever, the effect of getting to a cup final has on some people. You know, picking their team, and Christ, yeah. I mean, there's loads on it. Like I always revert back to Paul McGinley, because he was like he'd watched it like, as you said, like the first game in colour he ever saw was the 1975 FA Cup final. And obviously, you know, Fulham turned up in black and white, and he's like, "Well, I can see black and white, you know." But this claret and blue team, I like this team. And then that's great. And then, like 50 years later, you know, and it's the same with your dad as well. That's mental. That's great. It's a lovely story. I love the fact that, regardless of that, yours and his first game up to Park was probably the same game. Love it. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm certain that's right. He went to the 1990-91 semi-final at Villa Park as well.
Yeah.
And he said, it's just never known an atmosphere like it. The playoff semi-finals against Ipswich ran it close, he said, but he's never known an atmosphere like that at a game.
No, and especially when we interviewed a lot of people who played in that, and they felt somewhat embarrassed by it all, because, you know, like they had this support and they hadn't won it, and, you know, everyone's like chanting, like singing, like from about, you know, Billy Bond's club for like the whole game, and you know, he's like, we lost quite heavily at the end, but it's like when they see, but it's like it's not necessarily the game. It's as you said, it's the atmosphere, isn't it? So people talk about the Ipswich game and obviously the game at the bowling and all that type of stuff, and it's not necessarily. I mean, a lot of people I interview go, do you remember your first game? Not really, but I remember the smell. I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember it's like a real sensory thing. Football is. I mean, it's great that you can watch every game on the telly at the moment. It's great, but people miss that grass smell and that burger smell or popcorn smell at London Stadium. You know, that sort of, you know what I mean? That sort of buttery, but but you know, it's or stale beer. That's the one I always love. That stale beer.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite smells. When you walk past a pub and it smells like stale, soggy beer mats, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's that's a great smell. That is.
I
always think if I was in charge of the Sophie does all of the, you know, she gets the Glade plugins and things like that. If I lived on my own, I think I'd get a stale beer one.
But I used to love when you walk past a pub. I remember when I was young, we used to go to a cinema, and next door there was a pub. You'd have to walk past it, and obviously people would smoke there as well. And you'd want that waft of fags and stale beer. It was like, I remember we used to go to the rugby quite a lot as well, and that walk from Twickenham Station to the ground. And I remember one year they were handing out free Hamlets, like, you know, just like as a promotion, and the whole place smelled of like Hamlet cigars. Oh, that smell! Oh, I just love that. It's fun. It's like petrol, isn't it? Oh, wouldn't
do that now.
No, I couldn't do it now. Jesus, can you imagine the lawsuits? But yeah, it's like we filled up the car yesterday and Flo like opened the door. What are you doing? Oh, I love the smell of petrol.
Oh, quite right. I do prefer diesel, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, it was diesel. She didn't know the difference, but yeah,
it
was diesel.
I think that they were I seem to remember. I don't know any way of checking this, but I'm pretty sure on that first game in '97, they were handing out promotional. You know, the Kellogg's squares, the Rice Krispies with the. Have you had that as one of your snacks yet, Russ?
No. And the thing is, ironically, I've bought cupboards full of them.
Yeah.
Because that's all Flo out. Because that's the only thing Flo's allowed at school. You know, it's not allowed chocolate or if it's a snack, but that's the thing they can get away with. And so that's all we've got. And I like them. We've got them all. We've got them. We've got the birthday cake ones. They're quite nice.
My lad is exactly the same. We popped. You know what it's like after Christmas when you've got all the leftover celebrations that nobody likes. I think Sophie literally popped a Mars bar in his lunchbox and it got sent back. Can't have that. It's a chocolate bar. But then he had school dinners the next week and had a chocolate bomb for pudding. So
Thatcher's Britain. Thatcher's Britain. It makes no sense, does it? It makes no sense. It's like Flo. She says to me, probably shouldn't say something like, but she says to me, "Daddy, right? Can you because she only allowed water in her bottle, and it's like one of those chili bottles on those. So we went with flavoured water. Hello, always find an angle, Tom. Always find an angle.
Yeah.
And then so she's like, oh, it's quite nice. But then one day I forgot I put the wrong water in and it was like sparkling instead of like still. And they're quite pressurized, those bottles. And so she took it off and it was like champagne. What have you got in there, Florence? I don't know. My daddy put it in there. Oh, thanks. Stitch me right up there. Stitch me right up.
She's chucked you under the bus.
So she always, any opportunity, one or the other gets chucked under the bus. Yeah. No, I haven't done that as a snack. I'm not doing snacks at the moment. I'm doing guess the players are getting my stickers from the Euro 2020s. That's quite fun.
God, now I want it to be the summer holiday because I want to get involved with that.
Yeah.
My days that I can watch you now are Thursdays and Fridays are my days now that I can watch.
Oh, there we go.
So I'll be going through my doubles and checking.
Yeah, I haven't had any doubles yet. I've done all right. Although I have only opened 5 packs. But and then my first one was Vladimir Sufal. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't make it up.
Really?
Make it up. Yeah. First one out of the packet was Vladimir.
That's
God
good.
bless him. So that's completed it. Just need that and Thomas Suchek completed it. Anyway, we digress as we always do. Yeah. In terms of your Hammers 11, Tom. So obviously everyone we get on the channel, we get them to do an 11. Now obviously you're going a bit off piste. You've gone for 3 at the back. Okay. Well, allow it, Tom. Allow it. So we're going 3 at the back. Okay. Anyway, we'll come to that. If we had to pick a goal, who's gonna be in goal for the Burford 11? Who's gonna be between the sticks?
I think if I'd been going to West Ham earlier than '97, I was lucky enough to see McCloskey play on that first game, but I don't feel I've seen him play enough to pick him.
Yeah.
So I've gone Rob Green. Is my keeper. I just think that I can't believe some of the stick he gets, actually. He does seem to get a bit of bad press from West Ham fans about his time at West Ham. I don't ever remember feeling unsafe with him in goal. I think he's the safest goalkeeper I've ever seen play for us.
Yeah, definitely one of them, for sure. I mean, I think Greeno was... I think the trouble is, I think his goalkeepers' reputations are all based on... Obviously... Angelo Cabona could do a dodgy back pass, and then Fabianski's let's clear it. That's okay. Fabianski has a dodgy back pass, or he lets a goal in. I think with Green, it all just stems from just his time at England. That's the only. I can't remember him making any mistakes at West Ham or offense ones.
I was going to say exactly that. I think he's the person that I was least worried about. Yeah. If there was a floated ball over and he went up for it, most goalkeepers do drop things, but he's the safest pair of hands that I've seen play. Yeah. And that England game against USA, he was unbelievable in the second half. He made 2 or 3 brilliant saves to keep it at 1-1, but then obviously, that's not what everybody remembers.
No, one mistake and that's it, isn't it? Unfortunately,
if people to watch that back, you'll see that he earned us, even though there was the mistake, he earned us a point in that game in the end because he made 2 or 3 fantastic saves.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's true. I mean, we had it's come out before your episode, but we had Sebastian Schemmel on the other day, and he was talking about David James, and he was like, I remember like the first game I saw David James, I played with David James, I was like, oh my god, this guy is a world-class goalkeeper. He is phenomenal. He is brilliant. And he goes, and then we played, I can't remember who we played, I think it's Blackburn or something. We lost 7-1. and he made 7
No,
mistakes.
Blackburn, yeah.
and he made 7 mistakes, and he was the worst goalkeeper in the world. And he says that's the life of a goalkeeper, and it is. It's whereas Antonio can miss 10 shots, 10 clear-cut shots this season at least, but still be second goal scorer in the Premier League ever at West Ham. And people forget, but goalkeepers, they make 10 mistakes, they're out in their ear. And so is putting the manager, hence Roberto last season for last. But put Greeno in. I love him. Greeno number 6. One of only 43 players to have played for England and West Ham at the same time.
I wonder where I've heard that before.
I know. I wonder where I've heard that before. Anyway,
oh, that's it. That's
available on YouTube. But yeah, 40. It's not a lot, is it? It ain't a lot. From
I think that
from 1911 was our first England player.
I think you could almost do a separate series of the 43 players that really should have played for England but didn't because they play for West Ham.
Yeah. That could be quite good, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Yes, I can think of 3 straight away, or 4 straight away. Man.
Yeah.
Yes, as is the way with West Ham, unfortunately. Right, we'll put Greeno in. Let's go to your back 3. Who's your first of your back 3 then?
The first one is Winston Reid. I think he joined in that disastrous Grant season.
Yeah.
And looked well off it. But then the year we went back up, he was absolutely fantastic. In that year we got promoted and fully cemented down his starting spot, and was just absolutely solid ever since. Scored some historic goals. The Millwall winner that comes to mind that we all still sing about. That day, actually, I was having root canal done on the Oxford Road in Reading, and I arranged to meet my friend Craig, who I go to games with, and I had a completely numb right-hand side of my mouth, and I was running down the Oxford Road because I'd nearly missed the first half of that. And I had a great big swig of beer, and it all just fell out the numb side all over this woman sat next to me. So it was like numb, spitty beer all over this poor lady. I never even met, didn't even know who she was. Poor gal.
Poor cow. She'll come back stinking of beer, and her husband, what happened with you?
Well, hopefully he'll be smelling stale bear and forgive her because it's such a nice smell.
Oh, it's like an aphrodisiac, wouldn't it? He came back, particularly with West Ham winning as well. Yeah, no, he's. I was really pleased with him to get at least get some minutes on the pitch for the championship playoff final as well.
Yeah,
because he's had a right shitter of a time, and it's like, Brentford, he was doing well because obviously old Pontus wasn't playing. He was sort of his replacement, and then Pontus came back and he was sort of casted back out, but he still managed to get some minutes, which was great. And who knows what's going to happen with him in the summer, man?
Yeah, who knows indeed. Yeah,
I just think it's good. It'd be nice to have him back. Even if it's like with Brentford, just to get like a good old clap with the fans and stuff. That's what I love. Because we always, because it's not like he left in a bad way at all, and he'd get a fantastic reception. He'll always have a good reception where he comes back, and well deserved as well. Well deserved.
And vitally, the last goal at Upton Park.
Yeah, and I mean,
which has just created. That's just a memory for the ages, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think, we'll be talking about that night for generations.
Yeah. Definitely. He'll always be on the highlights reel, won't he? If you had to do goals of West Ham's history, he'll be on it forever now. So that's what I mean. It's fair play to him. So no, I like him. I like him. I do. We've been around for a long time as well. Who's next? We'll put Winnie in. So Winnie's in. Who we got next?
So the central of the 3 is going to be Rio Ferdinand. It was so exciting having him at the heart of your defence as a young kid, how exciting a prospect it was having everybody. He was just getting talked about all the time, and he played for us.
Yeah.
And I'm so privileged to have seen him in a West Ham shirt because, even though he played how many games? Well over 100 games, wasn't it?
Must be, yeah.
It was the late 90s, early 2000s that he went off to Leeds. So there's a few people that well established in their lives now that wouldn't have seen him play, and I'm so privileged that I did. And what he went on to go and do, with Manchester United, won everything under the sun, didn't he? So
he did, and I think he went and established himself as as an England player, and he's won everything he could have won with Man United and stuff. And I just think it's the same sort of. I think actually he's probably a step on now with Declan Rice, whereas Rio was breaking into the team. Declan Rice is established in the team and established in England. You know what I mean? Whereas, Rio was sort of he'd only played a couple of games for England when he was still at West Ham. So, it's, it's like, yeah. But yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. Right. So we put Rido. We've got Rio. Who's next?
Ginger Pele.
GP. God bless him. God bless him. Where is he? There he is. There he is. There's GP.
Absolutely epitomises West Ham, I think, despite, he's Welsh, but he's one of us.
Yeah.
Absolute body on the line, will throw himself in front of everything, winning everything in the air. And it's scandalous what happened with his contract, because if there's a player maybe in the last 10 years other than Noble that deserves a testimonial, it's that guy. And
yeah, it was strange.
I absolutely love him to pieces. And I was gutted when he left the first time round. I think he was unlucky with injuries when Pardew signed him and Gabadon. I know Gabadon and Anton struck up a really good partnership at the back. But yeah, what a defender.
I think with GP as well, do you know what? Like the first, I've said it before about him, the first stint, I can't really remember him that well. But it's the second stint, obviously I remember him more because my brain's going more than anything. But he came back as more of a West Ham player. Do you know what I mean? Came back rugged and with a bald head and a massive beard. And it was just like, being under the tutelage of someone like Richard Dunn made him the player that he was. He was a lot more chiseled and rugged, and that's that's why we really took to him, and he just seemed to get us. There's certain players and who just, and the fans just react well with, and GP was one of them, weren't he? I mean, even if he wasn't playing in the squad, he might be in the stand watching us playing Arsenal away or whatever, and I just love people like that. I love players who just get into the club and they're in it, and he obviously still lives around the area and stuff like that, despite, obviously being a Cardiff boy. That was quite good. That's quite good. Quite impressed. And so, yeah, I think it's great. And we'll see. There might be. I still think there's a place for Ginge in the setup at West Ham. I really do. He's doing his badges. He's got the academy. He's his own academy, and in the same way that Jack Collison's now Atlanta United second team coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll come back when Mark takes over. He'll come back, and they'll all come back and be like the Blues Brothers. They're bringing the band back together.
Yeah, why not? That'd be great.
Be great, yeah. As long as
I just always felt safe when he was starting.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Absolutely love Ginger Pele. Absolutely love him.
There's certain players who. Oh, I want to make you an ice cube. Sorry. There's certain players where you would if the ball was there, he would put any part of his body, regardless of how hard the ball was coming, just to stop that goal going in.
Yeah,
and the same way that Souček did this season as well. I think that's why a lot of us most of us really enamored with the Czech boys, because they have that sort of just want to win at all costs. Just put their body on the line. And GP was that. Yeah, he might sometimes have fucked up occasionally, but it's not for the want to try him. And I think it's so easy to be it's so easy to get on with West Ham fans. Just try every game. That's all you have to do is just try.
Yeah.
And and it's not hard. It's not. I mean, GP isn't like Maldini or Beckenbauer, but he tried, and
he's like Pele though.
Yeah, he is. He's Ginger Pele, exactly. And I love a player who because he always used to go into the chav corner, didn't he, and throw his shirt in there. Yeah. And I love a player who does it like they want to do it rather than they feel like they can contractually obliged to do it. He would take off and give it to a kid and love him. Anyway, come on, James, come on the show. You know you want to come in. Hopefully we'll be on soon. That'd be awesome. Right, okay, so you've got a back three, goalkeeper. Let's go wing backs then. Let's go left wing back.
I've despite what I said about McCloskey, only seeing him play once, you just cannot. I just cannot leave Julian Dix out. It's got to be Dixie at left wing back. I mean, obviously, I saw him a lot on the telly before I first went.
That counts.
And I only got when I first started going, he was injured. So he had his big injury when I went to my first game, and I didn't see him play until I think the 98-99 season, so 2 years later.
Yeah.
I only saw him play once. But my God, what a player.
Amazing,
and there's one for your how on earth did he not play for England list.
Oh, I know, it's incredible. And for me, it's like he was just... I think he's one of those players, people get it now. And until recently, people had it with Declan Rice, didn't they? Where they were saying, oh, he's not that good player. I don't really think he's very good.
Nonsense.
Same as Julian Dix, though. Julian Dix just thought was just a yob. Everyone thought it was just a massive yob, and it was just so far from the truth. Yeah, he liked to tackle, but he had an absolute wonderful left foot in. And yeah, it was just, he was a phenomenal player. Scored the first ever goal I saw at Upton Park. And yeah, I just love him. I just love him. I think he's a really nice bloke as well, like really cracking guy. Right, so we put Mr. Dix in. So if we put Mr. Dix on the left wing back, who's going to go in the right wing back position?
This was the toughest decision.
Oof.
It was a three-way split between Timmy Breaker and Sebastian Schemmel.
Both friends of the channel.
I know. But I'm pretty sure this guy has done one as well. Yeah, he has. Trevor Sinclair. And he's been on your quiz show, which this is you should always come clean about things, but I use that Wheel of Fortune PowerPoint in my lessons at school.
It's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it?
It's absolutely quality. I'm going to use it at Christmas.
It's so
family
good.
Games.
The family. I'll send you the Family Fortune one as well. That's a good one.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, Trev, brilliant. Love Trev.
So he's been shoehorned in really because it's right wing back.
But
I just couldn't.
He played that position though. He did play that position.
Yeah, he did, and I couldn't leave him out. And
no.
I mean, I'm gutted to leave out Schemmel because that season under Roder where he deservedly won Hammer of the Year, he was absolutely class.
Yeah.
And he joined on loan, didn't he, originally under Redknapp? And
he
did play in that game at United when we won at Man United.
It's his favourite ever game.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
I asked him that exact question. That was his favourite. It was his second game for us. I think he played against Charlton in a draw, and then he played Man United. And favourite game ever, he said. And it's funny. It's funny talking to him. He's so funny. But yeah, because obviously I think originally Roder scouted him.
Yeah.
For Redknapp, and so it was always so Roder always liked him when Redknapp left, and I said to him, Seb, man, it's like let's talk about the hair, because obviously he's on my Hammers 11 and on his picture, look, you see him at the far right, he had the long hair, didn't he? He had the hair with the hairband, and he went, so I cut my hair and I was shit.
I'd have loved you to have asked this.
Yeah.
but I seem to remember there being something. It was something to do with, I think, when we beat Derby 4-0 on Boxing Day that season.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember Trevor Sinclair scoring a goal.
Yeah.
And then celebrating doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the story is,
did he have to get his hair cut?
Yeah, this is the story. So it's been revealed. You'd already know this because you'd have seen it already. So like the story is that basically Schemmel had said to him, look, if you score a goal, and we're talking about cutting his hair, because if you score a goal, you can cut my hair. All right. And it apparently went for 4 or 5 weeks. And he goes, if you don't score, you have to donate 100 quid to a children's charity or something like that. And then obviously he scored. And then the next day, I think that was the Boxing Day because Trevor Sinclair never always scored Boxing Day. And then it was like, shortly after he was in training, and his barbers was Sinks, John Moncur, and Paolo Di Canio were his barbers. I was like, how? Why would you let? Because I don't know. But as soon as they cut my hair, I was shit. My West Ham career went downhill, and it's so true. I didn't want to be. He said it, not me. So that's okay. But yeah, he's top bloke. But Trev is Trev. I mean, I adore Trevor Sinclair, and in fact, look, you can just see it. We can't see him, but he is. Where is it? He's there. He's the right back. He's the right wing, so he's on my team anyway. So I put Trev in.
I feel a bit bad having selected Trevor Sinclair and then spent most of the time talking about Sebastian Schemmel.
Yeah, but Trevor Sinclair's brilliant. He's a lovely boy.
What an exciting player!
Yes,
he's with the exception of Trevor Brookin, I think he's my dad's favourite player. Tricky Trev.
He's favourite Trevor.
Absolutely fantastic player. Oh, it's so good seeing him play.
Yeah,
brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
He was my granddad's favourite player at the time. He was the only one he could recognise because his eyesight was going. So basically, any black player for West Ham, anything that was done good was Trevor Sinclair. Could have been Mark Vivian Foe. Could have been Shaka Hislop.
Kaba Diawara.
It could have been Kaba. It could have been Kaba. It could have been I can't remember who else was at the time, but anyway, it could have been Freddie Canute. But no, It was Trevor Sinclair. Bloody only good player on the pitch. And not only that, not only was a great player on the pitch, but he's a great player off the pitch. He's a lovely man, and you see the way he interacts with people on Twitter, not just West Ham, but Man City fans and Blackpool fans. He's still really QPR fans, and that shows the mantle of a man. I think the fact that he can still have that, there's nothing, and that's like the modern day autograph now, getting a follow or a retweet from your football hero. Particularly now we can't do any signatures or socially distance, but nowadays it's all about who follows who. And Trevor Sinclair, I love him. As you said, he's helped us out a few times, been on a few of our shows. Bless him. He likes a glass of red wine, though, I must say. He likes a glass of red wine.
There we go. Maybe we can share a glass now he's in my team.
Yes.
We'll share a bottle.
Share a bottle. Well, if you've got Jimmy Walker, well, more than the bottle with Jimmy. But yeah. Right, so we'll put Sinks in. Centre mid, first central midfielder.
Declan
Rice. Straight in there.
Honestly, having been lucky enough to have seen I guess I call them the class of 98. I don't know, class of 99.
Yeah,
Lampard, Ferdinand, Johnson, Cole, Defoe. At this age now, he's better than all of them.
I agree. Where he is now in his career. That's what we were saying about Rio. Rio was sort of breaking it. He still played over 100 games for us, but so's Deck, and he hasn't broken a sweat, really. And not only that, but he's played 18 times for England now, something like that. And and I just think, he's established himself not just in West Ham, but in the Premier League as one of the top midfielders in the Premier League. And I don't think there's anyone better in his position. I really don't.
No, I mean you can understand. I mean the Leeds fans will say Phillips, will say Deck, but I love that we can all come together and want them both to play. I mean, they both complemented each other brilliantly. I thought it was going to be way too defensive, but it was just a very efficient performance, wasn't it, against Croatia?
It was similar in how Deck and Thomas play together.
Yeah.
Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and Phillips had the freedom to go forward. Yeah.
And it was almost that type of thing, and it was almost, and I'd like to think that Southgate's looked at Deck's best position and the way he plays best, and how to play the players around him, and I just think he's phenomenal, and when you think he's only 22, something like that, it's mental. It's mental how many games he's played with us, how many games he's captained, and I've said it before, like, when Mark wasn't on the pitch, Deck's going to be captain. There's no two ways about it. We know Declan Rice is going to be captain. The lad's only was 21, 22 at the time, and he just took that mantle like he was been captain for years. I just love him.
He's just so likable too, isn't he? Like when he gets interviewed post match, he's not a monotoned media trained answer, is it? He's all, he's just so happy to be doing what he's doing. You can just tell. And I just hope that that he's established himself as an England starter. Yeah. And that might mean that he's going to stay with us a bit longer than everybody thought at the end of last season. Let's hope so anyway.
Well, I think, but I mean, especially at the beginning, like as you said, in the close season last season, we were almost walking him out the door. It's like, he's off to Chelsea, Lampard, good luck to him, I hope he does well. Now it's like, well, when Rio comes out and says, when someone asked him the question on Twitter, wasn't it, who's going to be number 6 for Man United next year? And he put, welcome Declan Rice. And everyone's like, come on, Rio, sort it out, But no, I think he's great. And I just think he's the type of player who would go into any team and improve them straight away. Man United, Man City, Real Madrid, all these teams he could go in and just make their team so much better already. And that's the mark of a great player, I think. And I have these claret tinted glasses, and I would love to think that he will be our next Mr. West Ham. It's almost like, he's a very astute boy, and seeing how we feel about Mark Noble and knowing about the history and how he's sort of become a West Ham fan since playing for West Ham, and all his cousins, his nephews, and all West Ham fans. He could easily, at this rate, be surpassing Bobby Moore, Billy Bonds in terms of, and I always revert back to listening to Peter Crouch's podcast the other day when he was talking about Mark Noble, saying how he was jealous of Mark because, he's going to be a legend at West Ham, and Crouch is never going to be a legend at Tottenham or QPR or Liverpool or Stoke or Portsmouth because he moved about. Whereas Mark Noble, despite the fact he won bugger all, could easily have a stand named after him, that type of thing. And I think I'd love to think Deck feels the same, but who knows? Who knows? Wishful thinking, king of wishful thinking. As
quite right.
As Go West would say. Right, we'll put Deck in. Okay, Deck's in. Who's he going to partner in that central midfielder?
I hope this hasn't messed up with your graphics, but I've literally changed my mind during the stream.
That's right.
I've got to go Mark Noble.
He's got to go Mark Noble. Yeah.
It was I was chopping and changing him and Parker around, but it's just got to be. It's got to be Nobes.
Yeah.
Absolute epitome of West Ham. And for me, next season when he finishes is going to be horrendous. He's the last link to the old ground, as far as I'm concerned. I know Cresswell played there, but that'll be the last link to what West Ham used to be. I'm still not sold on this new ground yet. But yeah, I love him to pieces.
He's just a throwback, isn't he? A throwback to an era where you played for your local team, the team that he, and he said in that Peter Crouch thing, the team that he would support, and he would sneak underneath the gates to go and see, or pay someone a fiver to get in to sneak him and his mate in, all that stuff. And now he's played for over 500 games for the club. He's been a one-man club. He's won bugger all, whereas it's obviously Bonzo and Moro, they won stuff, albeit one or two tries. he's won fuck all, and he's stuck with us.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he's played under so many managers and they've all picked him as captain, or most of them picked him captain when he's obviously been old enough, just speaks volumes for me in terms of what he brings to the team.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's been with us through an absolute roller coaster of a ride, really. I mean, broke into the team under Pardew, got given his really found his feet under Kirbishley. He didn't play as much as I felt he deserved. He should have done under Pardew.
No.
That I don't know if he was protecting him or just didn't trust him. I don't know. But he's, been through that Grant season, going straight back under Allardyce, that last year at Upton Park, the relegation battles at the new ground where everyone was hating it.
I mean, he's been through it all, hasn't he? He has been through it all, and again, in the same way that Winston Reid will always be sort of cemented in West Ham history. So will Mark, the last captain at the new ground, the old ground, the first captain at the new ground, the testimonial, all these types of things, and he's a fan as well. And again, that's something which doesn't happen a lot, and I think we don't appreciate that in as much as maybe we should do. I think we always have this sort of nostalgic view of footballers that they love the club they play for and and where for a lot of it's their job, and where Mark, it's not, it's his passion. He could have moved on, he could have gone to other clubs, but he never did. He stayed at West Ham, and I just think he's got a job at life at West Ham, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just
that testimonial, obviously, with the exception of the last game, that was my favourite game that season. That was so special to go and watch.
Yeah.
And you see testimonials so often, and there's a load of empty seats in there.
Yeah.
There's absolutely packed, and it was going back and seeing the players that you saw when you were a kid all play. It wasn't just about Nobes. That was just an absolute celebration of West Ham, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was almost like the start of the closing ceremony to the ground. Almost.
Yeah.
It was almost it was the start of the celebrations.
Yeah. It was like the greatest hits.
Wonderful day.
It's like a greatest hits tour, wasn't it? Where it's like, even with Dino doing his bicycle kick and Paolo just wanting to play everywhere, and Adrian running the pitch, and it was just a lovely day. It was just like, it was one of those days which were just, you could just enjoy it. I think there was someone who I saw her talk about the last game of the bowling, and I was just so nervous. And that testimonial, I think everyone, that was like, as you said, the closing set. That was like the last game, because they could just enjoy the game. It was just entertainment. We had nothing riding on it. It was a testimonial, but it had all your favourite players.
Yeah.
No one could remember the score, but it doesn't matter. It was just the event being there, and I think it was obviously Mark pushing it through to make sure it was at the bowling rather than necessarily maybe at the stadium. He made sure it was going to be at the bowling, which I think was a critical thing for us. But
and it also means I've actually seen Julian Dix play twice.
Well, there we go. You've seen him play twice, albeit not in his best state, bless him. But he got on the pitch again, bless him. Right, okay. So we put Rice, we'll put Noble. Who's next?
So we've got a centre attacking mid next. Isle Berkovic.
Oh, love him. Love Isle.
Oh, he was so exciting to watch. And when you're in the first couple of years of going to your games, he was such an integral part of, the 97-98 season where we nearly qualified for Europe, and then the 98-99 season where we did qualify for Europe. He just seemed to be involved in everything. Such an exciting player. And Hugo Porfirio played in the first game I went to, and he was one of my first favourite players.
Yeah.
But Berkovic was, and West Ham love a flair player, don't they? Where we've got Collins and Dix and Rice and Noble. From the more physical side of the game, we love a flair player.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't bring myself to put Payet in with the way he left. So it's Berkovic for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
he was great. I think Berkowitz was great, and when we did our John Hartson appreciation night, so many of those goals,
Yeah.
were just basically Berkowitz playing him in. I remember interviewing John about him, and he was like, I can't thank Yao enough for that season. Like 75% of my goals must have come from him, and then he kicks him in the head. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's, but he was just. I think he's the type of player who would really thrive in the Premier League now, because it's
Yeah.
like, in the way someone like David Silva played for years at Man City, and he would be the same. He would just like put in the strings, and he'd be in the top 4 team now, put in the strings. And he's probably one of them. There's some players who, if you walk down the street, you'd be like, oh, look, there's Trev. Oh, look, there's Julian Dix, or I don't know, Winston Reid, or James Collins. Berkowitz, you just walk past him. The years have not been kind to no, he's great, absolutely great, fantastic player. And I think really the guy where you really appreciate when you look back and watch the season highlights and stuff like that to see what a great player he was for us. A fantastic player. Right, okay, we'll put Eyal on. So up front, who's your first striker?
John Hartson.
Ah, there we go. The perfect pairing.
Yeah, and they've made up now because they're in my team.
Well, there we go.
Just remember going to games in those first 2 seasons and having a striker up front that you knew was going to score.
Yeah.
Just doesn't happen very often these days. But I absolutely love John Hartson. I think he's just had everything. He was physical and aggressive, but was a hell of a finisher as well. Yeah, brilliant. I managed to meet him when he was playing for West Ham still. I went to they used to do the Merlin Premier League swap shops at the end of the season.
Love it.
And I saw us draw 0-0 with Derby, and he got sent off. I think he punched Igor Stimac.
Yeah.
And he got a 4-match ban. And the swap shop I went to is in Southampton, so we were expecting the celebrity guest to be like Francis Benali or someone like that, and then John Hartson walks out. We were like, what? So we went over and got our stickers signed, and my dad got his autograph as well, and he asked John to make it out to Burfy, which is his nickname, Burfy. And he took it to cricket the next day, showed everyone in the dressing room, and someone says, that says Buffy. And John had written Buffy instead of Burfy. So for about 3 seasons, he was called Buffy. That was his nickname.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. It's like we had a kid at school who when we was like infant school, junior school, something like that, and a substitute teacher called him, his name was Tom Stroud, but for some reason he called him Tom Trout, and so we still call him Trout now, like 35 years later. He's like, all right, Trout. It's like brilliant. But John Hartson, I mean, it was funny looking back at a lot of his goals. I always assumed he was, as you said, this big, like, he's a big lad anyway, but like lots of commanding headers. They weren't. A lot of his goals were like just shots, like proper shots, and almost putting so much power behind it. The keeper would parry loads of the shots. He just couldn't get enough purchase on the ball. He was a fantastic player, and obviously he had that phenomenal season.
One I think about there is when we got knocked out the FA Cup against Arsenal, he scored an equaliser where he just sort of fired one in on the edge of the box to the near post. And Alex Manninger was in goal for them that year, and he just seemed to keep everything out.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a goal, that one. It's a shame we went on to lose on penalties, but that was a great goal.
It's the way in it with West Ham, unfortunately. But yeah, top boy as well. Top boy, old Johnny is. Right, so we've got Berkowitz, we've got Hartson. Last player. Who's it going to be?
It is Paolo Di Canio.
I've heard of him.
You can't leave him out.
No.
He's the best player I've ever seen, I think. And that's even when you throw in the Payet season. That's even when you throw in some of the amazing players that have played for us. He's the one player that I think you were excited because you were going to watch him, not because you were going to watch West Ham, and you knew something he'd do something. It's just, and he's, when people make like the throwaway comment that he's worth the entrance fee alone, he always was.
Yeah.
And I think people just, I mean, you've only got to look back and just see the impact he had on games. And the thing is, if you go back and watch season reviews and things, it misses out so much of what he did. There's only so much stuff you can fit in 3 minutes of highlights. But he'd just constantly dance around people, sit people down, nutmeg people. Just so exciting. And just the bond he had with the fans, he's part of the club, and he will be for a long, long time, and he'll be talked about forever.
Oh yeah. And
he will be like, when people talk about, for different reasons, but when people talk about Moore, Bonds and Brooking and that, we'll be talking about him in 40, 50 years time, saying, oh, you missed Di Canio,
And it's one of those things, I think, with Pat, it's funny. I was saying the same thing to Seb today, and we were talking about Di Canio, and he was saying he's exactly the same thing. He's like, you talk about Paolo, and you talk about Trevor Brooking, and you talk about, all these great players, and you talk about Paolo Di Canio. And he said, and I said, yeah, but I think Paolo knows that as well, because, like, to be fair, he was on the scrap heap. And Harry took a punt. Harry took a punt with him. And despite the fact, we've had people who are friends with Harry, even Harry himself said, people thought I was mad to take a punt with him. But I took a punt with him. And because of the way he played, because of the way he interacted with fans, because the fans took to him, because again, we like a skillful player, but we like a player who plays with heart as well. And very rarely do those two come together. And when they do, it's special. And so obviously Di Canio was a special one. And then, playing at West Ham, he was then put in the bracket of Trevor Brooking and people like that at West Ham. He was put in the bracket of Zola and Omri and Bergkamp in sort of Premier League history. That would never have happened at Sheffield Wednesday with him and Carbone. Bless them, but it wouldn't have happened. And I think he knows that as well. So although there's a lot of love for West Ham, there's a lot of love for basically, saving his career really and going to have the career he had. He would have been a totally different story. But I know exactly what you mean. You'd have paid your money just to go and watch him. You didn't know what Paolo was going to turn up. That's why that whole period was just so exciting for a West Ham fan because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
That Redknapp era, so unpredictable. Obviously, we're doing it now. I'm doing these sort of, looking at these not so great signings, and a lot of them are in the Redknapp era. But that again is part of the fabric of that season. Those seasons, it was like it is about Marco Boogers, and it is about Darnay and Di Canio and Ruddock and Ian Wright, and it was just a fantastically exciting time. And Trevor Sinclair, sorry, Trev. It was just a fantastically exciting time. And he epitomised it. Absolutely epitomised that boy. Yeah, absolutely epitomised it. Top boy. Right. So don't worry about the slight change because, hey, I let it roll without you even realising. I've let it roll because where's the team? There's the team. See? Yeah, you see?
Look at that.
See, look at that. Champions League having a laugh. No, very good. Love it, man. I like it. It's a nice balance. I think
it looks great. Looks
great on paper, doesn't it? Looks great in their pomp. It looks great, man. But Tom, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. I've watched so many of these, and it's great to be on one. It really is.
Yeah.
Talking about my favourite thing, West Ham.
I know, easy, isn't it? It's the best thing to do. Come have a YouTube channel where you talk about West Ham. Brilliant. I love it. Or you can talk for 5 hours with Gatesy.
Well, yeah. I'm glad it didn't go on for 5 hours. That's for sure. I think that's a good amount of time.
An hour's enough. But anyway, thank you very much, Tom. And obviously, thank you to everyone for watching as well. Give it a share, give it a like, give it a subscribe. If you want to listen to it all on podcast, we're part of Sports Social now, so you can listen to them all on Spotify or whatever, and all the Sports Social sites and stuff. But anyway, from myself and from Tom, take care, everyone. Stay safe, wash those hands, get those jabs when you get your appointments, come on you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love.